Hello everyone and welcome to another vlog. Today I'm going to discuss about DSLR versus mirrorless. I'll be covering the following subjects: the benefits of a DSLR, the benefits of a mirrorless, the disadvantages of a DSLR, disadvantages of a mirrorless, my prediction on where the market is going, and my advice to you on what type of camera to buy in 2020. Hello everyone, my name is Toma. I'm a full-time landscape and travel photographer. So if you're interested in this kind of topics, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more videos like this. And if you want to join me in one of my workshops or to support me by buying one of my editing courses, the links are in the description of this video with all the details necessary. Now let's get back to the video. I am a Canon user. I used Canon DSLRs from 2009. My first DSLR was a Canon 50D, and after that followed Canon 60D, Canon 80D, Canon 5D Mark II, and Canon 6D. So as you can see, I used quite a lot of DSLRs. In 2019, last year, I decided to upgrade my Canon 6D and I went for the Canon EOS R, which was my first mirrorless camera. And after a few months of using this new system, I can tell you my thoughts on this battle of DSLR versus mirrorless. Let's start with the benefits of having a DSLR. DSLRs are dependable. I never had one DSLR that broke. It snowed on them, it rained on them. I had them at minus 20 degrees. I mean, they kept running and they kept doing really great photos. The second advantage is, even though the camera is closed, you can look through the visor and see the actual composition. You can change the focal and adjust the focus with the focus ring, and you can check the composition without opening the camera. And that sounds like a small thing, but believe me, in areas where you don't have quick access to electric power, this is a really big thing. And here comes the third advantage, which I think is the biggest plus for the DSLR. The battery life is forever. Okay, we can't say forever, but it lasts so long. And if you decide to close the back screen of your camera and use only the visor and use the back screen only to check the photos, I think it's a really powerful tool to have with you in areas where, I said before, electric power, it's not so easy to access. Now let's talk about the benefits of having a mirrorless camera. They are slightly smaller than the DSLR and slightly weight less than the DSLR. Now what you see on the visor and what you see on the back screen of the camera is almost exactly what you're going to get. Another thing is that on the back screen and on the visor, you have the ability to display histograms and histograms on color channels. And if you've been to one of my workshops, you know how important it is to watch out for that red channel during the day and for the blue channel before sunrise and after sunset. With a mirrorless camera, you get firmware updates that are really something that can add features to your camera. It also comes with very interesting features like finding the eye of the subject, tracking it and keeping it in focus, which I think it's a really big plus when photographing people. Now I'm talking about Canon mirrorless, and I also know that Nikon falls into this category and Sony as well. They all have adapters and you can still use your old lenses, which I think is really great. I mean, I only bought the camera and I'm still using my old Canon L lenses. And the last benefit that I see of using a mirrorless is that you don't have problems of back focusing and front focusing anymore. The focus is made right on the sensor surface. So now I'm using lenses that with DSLR were long forgotten in my closet because of back focus or front focus that I couldn't adjust. Now let's talk about the disadvantages of using a DSLR. These cameras are bigger and heavier than a mirrorless. The difference is not that big, but when you count all the other accessories and all the other gear that you have to carry with you in certain locations, it can be a difference that really matters. The second disadvantage that I see is that a DSLR requires a longer learning curve. The person that is using a DSLR really has to know what he or she is doing. All these elements that a photographer needs to know fall more into the pro category photographers that are really doing this as a I don't know, as the passion of their lives, or are doing this as a living. So using a DSLR, it's not that simple. And which goes to my third disadvantage, that you have to press the shutter in order to see the image. That is why you really need to know what you're doing, because there are situations when you can't miss the moment. You can't miss that split of a second when something happened. It doesn't matter what type of photography you're doing, landscape or portraits or events. There are moments when you have to be ready, you have to know what you're doing, you have to know how to expose the scene to get it right really fast. The fact that you can't see the final image in the visor or the back screen of your camera, it can be a minus. Yes, you can go live mode and you can simulate the exposure, but sometimes with DSLRs, it's not the way you are used to use these cameras, and that is why you can miss some really interesting moments. And the fourth disadvantage that I see is that there are lenses that are doing back focus or front focus, and if the lens is consistent with this type of bad focusing, then yes, you can adjust it. But as I said in previous videos, I had the 50mm f1.4, and that lens was doing back focus or front focus. I don't know, it was a chaotic lens. I don't know why, but right now on my mirrorless, I don't have this problem anymore. So this is another disadvantage of the DSLR. When I'm talking about mirrorless cameras, I see two big disadvantages, and the biggest disadvantage is battery life. Even though my Canon EOS R uses the same battery as my DSLR, which I thought they were pretty long-lasting batteries, it's not the case. If you're extensively photographing during one day, you'll be using at least two batteries, while with a DSLR you were using maybe one battery for 2 days if you were photographing really intensively. So this is, I think, the biggest minus with the mirrorless cameras. And if you are in areas that, for example, are really cold, that also influence the drainage of the battery, and you have poor access to electric power, this can be a really big problem in my opinion. So for these kind of areas, I think the DSLR would win the fight or the battle with no chance for a mirrorless. The second disadvantage that I'm seeing with the mirrorless is that you always have to turn the camera on to check for composition. I really don't like this, and the main reason is because first, it takes away battery, and secondly, it kind of takes you out of that mood. My prediction for the evolution of this market: I think we have to understand that the easier for a person will be to make a good exposed photo, the more that type of camera will develop. It doesn't matter for the average user how good artistically a photo is. That person wants to have a photo that is exposed good and that is in focus and that is sharp. And that is why I think the market will develop in the direction of mirrorless and phone cameras. It's going to be the easiest way for people to access photography, and that's why I think this market segment will develop more in the following years. Of course, that the market for DSLRs, I think it will still be there, and DSLRs will still be used, as I said, in areas, for example, where electricity it's not that accessible. It makes sense to have a DSLR with you. The pros will keep using DSLRs, but I think in maybe 20 or 30 years, this market will not matter that much anymore. And now, what camera type you should buy in 2020? And I think that by now you kind of guessed the direction in which I'm going with this advice. I think you should go for the mirrorless. The fact that you can have an adapter and use it with your old lens and still benefit from the new technology, I think it's a really big plus. I think it's something that it's a direction that you should go if you want to upgrade your camera. Now let me know in comments below what you think about all this, what you think about mirrorless, or what you think about DSLRs. What are your thoughts on this? And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.